Hello, welcome to Ignite Your Personal Brand Virtual Summit. I'm your host, Darlene Hawley, and I'm so excited to kick off 2019 with these powerful stories and trainings to help you create an authentic, magnetizing, and profitable brand and business. In this series, I'm interviewing amazing women who will be sharing their story for why they started their journey into entrepreneurship, and they're sharing their top tips to make an impact on your bottom line to create a thriving business in 2019. And I am so excited for today's guest. Please help me welcome Suzy Cater. Hi, Suzy.
Hi, Darlene.
Thank you so much for being on with me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who's Suzy? How did you?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a conversion copywriter and a communication strategist. And what I specialize in is working with entrepreneurs, especially coaches and consultants, to upgrade their website, email, and marketing copy, especially their blog copy as well. And I do that to help business owners make a bigger impact with what they're doing and make a bigger income, because words can really make a difference to how people perceive your brand and what they're willing to pay for your services.
Yes, and you're quite brilliant at it. I've worked with you and I've seen the words that you put together always sound so much more amazing and eloquent when you put it versus what I would write. So you definitely know your stuff.
Well, thank you very much.
So tell us a little bit about your journey into entrepreneurship. Like, what was it that made you even want to start a business and do this on your own?
Sure. Well, I would say that it's I came to this in a somewhat unusual way. Really, my first encounter with running a business and entrepreneurship happened way back when I was a teenager, when I ended up working part-time for my dad in the summer holidays, in the vacations, at weekends, and he was a veterinarian. So on the surface, absolutely nothing to do with copywriting. And it wasn't especially glamorous work. There was a lot of, cleaning things. But it actually was really, it was an experience that I did for a long time, and that really shaped me. And I think one of the ways in which it shaped me was that I realized what my dad did wasn't actually just looking after the animals. What he did every single day was communicate with his clients, and he had to be really, really good at empathizing with them, at connecting with them, at making them feel like he understood what they were going through, because sometimes people were very distressed about what was going on with their animals. Yeah. And so that was something I really picked up from him, and that I have tried to implement ever since in everything I do. And I think it still shapes the way that I write copy today, because for me, it's all about connection and genuine connection. But after that, I did not do entrepreneurship. I went into academia. Actually, I got a PhD. I studied French. I went to live in France for a while. I taught as a professor at NYU, and that was all going really well. I taught for many years. I wrote research articles. I edited academic journals. But there just came a point where I was sort of at a turning point where I could launch myself further down the academic track, and I could go for, the tenure track job. And at the end of that, you get tenure, and then you're a university professor for the rest of your life. Or I could do something a bit different. And I just the idea of committing to something like that and working at one university and that very narrow path wasn't as appealing to me as I thought it would be. And I loved doing the writing and editing that I'd been doing, and teaching and working with students to help them express themselves better. And I decided to pivot a little bit and work with a different kind of audience, and with entrepreneurs, and help entrepreneurs find their voices instead. So yeah, it was a somewhat circuitous journey, but here I am, and very happy to be here.
And I love that, because you've taken so much from what you learned from like your dad's practice and from being a professor and in those different environments, and you were able to kind of pull that into your own journey and your own story and kind of pave your way for yourself to start your own business. So what were some of those steps that you feel like were important steps that brought you onto this journey? Like if the breadcrumbs that brought you in.
Yeah, I think that I don't know how everyone decides to be an entrepreneur. I think a lot of us kind of fall into it, or we decide to give something a go, and then we find out that we like it and we keep going with it. And that was sort of what happened to me. Actually, what happened was I'd finished my PhD, I'd finished this teaching fellowship I was doing at NYU, and I decided I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And so I started doing freelance writing, just, to make some money. And I ended up working for this big ed tech company in Silicon Valley. And I really, really just liked the lifestyle that kind of work afforded me. It was super location flexible. I could manage my own schedule, and I loved negotiating directly with the CEO of that company to talk about what kind of copy he wanted. And the more I did that kind of freelance writing work, the more I realized that was really appealing to me. And I started looking at copywriting jobs in big companies, big advertising companies, but I couldn't quite bring myself to do it, to be a sort of cog in a machine and have my copy reviewed by 5 different people before it actually went to the client. I loved getting to work directly with the clients and help them to draw out their voice. And so that's what I decided to do, to run my own business, to be a copywriter who worked one-on-one with personal brands. And then really it's ever since then, it's been a kind of twofold journey. On the one hand, I learned a lot about copywriting very, very quickly, and I'm still learning because there's always more to learn. But I kind of looked up some of the best conversion copywriters, and I took courses with them, and learned a lot of tricks of the trade that are really essential. But at the same time, there was this whole other section that was learning to become a business owner. And that was the harder part, I think, because it takes something, I think, mindset wise, to position yourself as a business owner, and to think of yourself as an authority, and to do all those small but crucial things that are really important to selling your services and on a consistent basis, and bringing in a regular income, and having the confidence to ask for what you're worth. So it's definitely been a twofold journey, and I'm sure it will continue, because being an entrepreneur is all about growth.
Yeah, and I think so many of us can relate to that, because we get into business because we're really good at a craft or a trade, or great at communicating, or great at writing, like with you. And you're really good at the craft, but then you're like, there's this whole other side to it. Like, how do we run the business? What's our niche? Who's our ideal client? How do we share our message with them? What do we share about ourselves to connect to the audience? Like, there's so many facets to it, and marketing yourself and doing PR. Absolutely. And social media. There's so many different pieces to it that we have to learn. So it's good. I'm glad that you pointed that out, because sometimes we're so focused on what we do that we forget that we have a backside to our business. And you have to kind of balance as a business owner, especially a lot of us in the summit run our own businesses, and some of us have maybe a few employees. A lot of us are solopreneurs. It's us, and you're having to wear 15 different hats on the same day. So making sure that you juggle that, it's so important.
Yeah, because it's always a balance between, actually doing the client work, and doing the client work really, really well, like you want to, but then at the same time, sometimes you're thinking, oh God, I haven't posted on Facebook today to market myself, or, oh, I have to send an email to my list, or why isn't my website working? It was working yesterday. Oh God, do I have to deal with this now? And yeah, you can really easily get blown off course. And I also think another thing that new entrepreneurs struggle with is, you maybe go into something because you're really good at it, but you haven't had the experience doing exactly what you're doing for very long. Like, I'd been writing for so long, and I'd written for newspapers, I'd I'd edited these top academic journals, but I hadn't, when I started, I hadn't written conversion copy. I haven't written that much of it. And I think that's with a lot of coaches. Perhaps there's people who are just really great at giving advice and guiding others. And it's something they've always been great at. And then they take a coaching qualification and they qualify and they're great, but they feel they don't have the experience to back themselves up as a business owner or as a coach. And then it becomes a vicious cycle where they're thinking, oh, I don't have enough experience as a coach. Oh, I'm going to set my rates really low. And then they're setting their rates too low and being really overworked or not valuing themselves in terms of what they do. And it can be hard, I think, to break out of that mindset trap, because it can get very overwhelming.
Yeah, no, it definitely can, because there's so many facets that you can focus on. So being really clear that when you're working on your business and then when you're working in your business, and making sure you balance those two areas so that you're growing your list, you're growing your business, and then you're also able to produce great materials or give, like for me, I give great coaching session and be of great value to my clients, but also doing the business side of it as well. Yeah. So it's important that you find that balance for yourself, or that harmony. Yeah. Intertwining the two and getting used to doing it all on your own, because a lot of times when we start our businesses and go onto this path, in our past, we've always just done the job portion of it. We just knew what to do. We didn't necessarily have to market ourselves or grow our list, where now we're like thinking of those things too. Like, okay, well, how do we grow our list while we're doing amazing quality work as well?
And I think that one thing that I see a lot of people struggle with as a copywriter is selling themselves as well. There's a difference between doing the work and then selling yourself to other people. And I think that's something that a lot of people really, really struggle with. And when I review people's copy or people's content, I'll read a blog post that someone's given me to edit, and there's no call to action at the end to do anything that will benefit the business owner. They're not asking the person to sign up for their email list. They're not asking them to book a call with them. They're not asking for anything. And sometimes I read emails like that. Sometimes I read websites where you don't know what the person does or how you could work with them. People are often very focused on, I think when we start out in business, I've got to give value. And then they forget that they also have to get people to pay them. Yes. So that's really important. That's something really important, and I see a lot of people kind of forget to do. So if you're listening, please don't forget to actually get people to hire you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that. So when you're writing emails or newsletters or anything for your posts or anything for your message, how do you add selling into that?
Yeah, I think that I think there can be a big misconception, and I think that that's actually fueled by a lot of the talk out there about how you should or shouldn't do marketing. And a lot of people say things like, 80% of your emails or your social media posts, they should just be value. You should be giving free value. And then 20% you can sell in. So it establishes this kind of dichotomy between selling and value, and this idea that you shouldn't be doing both in the same post or in the same email, which is actually completely wrong, because the best, apart from when you're doing a launch or something, if you're just doing regular email newsletters, regular social media posts, you can sell in every single thing that you write. There can be a call to action in every single social media post to get people to sign up for your list or to book a call with you, and it doesn't have to read as sleazy. And actually, the way I would do it is to think of the post or the email itself as 80% value, 20% pitch. So one thing I do a lot, and that I get a lot of my clients to do, is to begin with a story, a personal story, a personal anecdote. It works really well if you're a solopreneur, because you obviously have a lot of them, but also personal brands. If you're the face of a personal brand, that can be really helpful. And you just talk about something that's gone on in your life, something that you really like, something that happened to you ages ago, maybe. So, for example, one of my emails to my mailing list was about how I'd gone to see A Star Is Born, the movie with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of my friends I'd invited to come along with me, and he said, "No, I don't want to go and see that. That's really lame." And and I absolutely loved it, and I was playing the song "Shallows" that she sings in the movie over and over again on loop. And I'm a massive sucker for a romantic comedy or a romance or anything a bit romantic, anything rags to riches as well. So I started with that story, how I'd gone to this movie, how, my friend had called me lame, but you know what? There's no point hiding it. I love romances. I love rags to riches stories. And then I did segued into, and that's something that we all have to just accept about ourselves in business. There's no point in putting on a front, because at some point, if you're going in this for a long term, you're not going to be able to keep up this super polished front if that's not you. And it's just better if we come out and we're authentic and we showcase who we are, and it enables people to connect with us and identify with us. And then I segued at the very end saying, if you want help writing in a way that helps people identify with you, that showcases your authenticity, then book a call with me. And so the whole post was not about booking a call with me. It was just a very small part. And most of the email was about, a personal story that people enjoy reading. And I'm sure lots of other people on my list had read A Star Is Born, had watched A Star Is Born too. And they had their thoughts on that. And it's a great way to get replies and generate engagement by talking about those kind of things. So email, social media posts, start with a story and then segue at the end into something that's relevant to your business and into a call to action.
Yeah, and it's such a great way to really warm up and connect with your audience too, because they want to know more about you. They want to learn who you are, how you spend your free time. And you don't have to tell them everything. I always say, you don't want to share the scar, or you don't want to share the wound. You want to share the scar. So sometimes some stories you may not share today, even though it's really happening in your life at this moment. You don't have to share it today. You can save that story, write it down, keep it in a log, so that when it's a scar and it's not as fresh, or you're not living in that situation, you can use it. So you can use so many different stories and pull from personal places in your life that you're able to share just from your day to day. And then,
or even just things you like I had a Instagram post a lot of people really liked that was just a lyric from the Carole King song, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? And then I talked about how when it comes to social media, a lot of people have a lot of insecurity about posting because we're worried, I didn't get as many clicks as I did, as many likes as I did last week. Oh God, nobody likes me. Oh, my post, no. And that's this really common feeling, but actually, keep being persistent. You never know what's going on with the algorithms. Don't take these things personally. And that started with the song. So it was a song I really like, but it wasn't necessarily me, bearing everything to my audience. It was, a song I like.
Yeah, and I love that, because it's just little pieces of yourself being brought in, and so people are really going to start to connect and grow that relationship, and it deepens from there. People want to know people they know, like, or work with people they know, like, and trust. They don't want to work with somebody they know absolutely nothing about except for business. It's nice to have your face, and they're getting to interact with you, and they know a little bit about who you are and your life and stuff. So we talked a little bit about social media and how it's important to kind of share story and give the value, but also have a call to action on it. On our website is another great place where we're able to kind of share about who we are and connect with our audience, because once we've hooked them through social media or maybe through our email list, they're going to visit our website. So what are some ways that we can write copy to really draw them in on our website as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to preface my advice here with a little caveat, because people can get really hung up on their websites, and people can get really paralyzed, and then they never do it, or they spend just weeks slaving over this website. And I just want to say, if that's you, and you don't have the budget to hire someone to help you sort it out, just take a step back and don't worry about it so much. You can get a long way with a very, very simple website. You can get a long way with just a picture of yourself, an opt-in form, and a paragraph saying what you do. It doesn't have to be super complicated when you're just starting out. My first 4 months in business, I didn't have a website. I worked on freelance. I worked on freelance websites, and then I got referrals. And so, I got, and that was helpful for me because it gave me some perspective when it came to my website, because it is really important in the long term, definitely. But you want to get clients first of all, and you want to start working with people, even if you're just talking with people and doing free consultations for testimonials. Start doing that. Start making contacts. Start putting yourself out there as whatever kind of expert you are, rather than stressing about the website initially. So
yes, so many people get so hung up on it. Like you said, they'll spend weeks and weeks or months even waiting until their website's ready. And in all reality, as soon as my website's ready, there's something else I'm already thinking of that I might want to add. So you can't let that be what's holding you back. You can't hide behind your website.
and all sorts of things change. Like, my website has changed so many times over the past 6 months since I put it up. It's changing all the time. So you're never going to have the perfect website. And especially if it's your first year of business, it's not going to be like your forever website. It's very unlikely. So I would advise, and also I think something people struggle with is they want to say everything on their website. They want to put all their values, everything they care about, their whole story, everyone they might want to work with, every possible service they offer. They want to have a bunch of blog posts ready to go before they launch the website. People get very ambitious, and you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Yeah. And I would actually say, if you're struggling to find your voice, or you just can't figure out what to pick and choose, what to put in there, maybe start posting on social media, because that'll help you write in a more natural way. It'll help you start connecting with people. Even if nobody's liking your post yet, just start writing something on a daily basis and putting it out there, as opposed to slaving over a website that you're not showing to anybody. So that would be one tip. Let me just have a drink.
Yeah.
When you are ready though to put your website together, I have a few tips. So I would say, one, just plan it first. There's no point in just sitting down and expecting inspiration to flow and just write your whole homepage in an afternoon. It's probably not going to happen. So first, I would say, decide what your goals are for your overall website, and decide what your goals are for each page. So for me, for instance, my goals are to get people to sign up for my mailing list, or to get people to book a call to work with me. And there's different people at different levels of awareness, and you want to think about that as you think through each of your pages. So your homepage, for instance, the way I think about homepages is, usually it's good if they're kind of like a map of your site, a little map, so people can go to your about page. If, say, they're looking for a copywriter, they know they want to hire a copywriter, but they want to know more about who you are and how you got here, and they want a bit more of your story before they look at your package. So have your about page there. Then there are going to be other people who maybe know they'd like to work with you, and they just want to know what your packages are, what your prices are. So make a link to your services page. And then there's people who are coming to your website pretty cold. Maybe they've read a social media post by you, maybe they've been directed there by an ad. maybe there's a blog post that they read and then they've clicked on your homepage, so they don't know anything. So for them, you want to get them on your mailing list so you can start to nurture them as a lead. So you want to have those 3 things on your homepage. And then you want to have some kind of social proof, like testimonials, just to reassure people, you know, you are who you say you are, and you do well at what you do. So just think through the different people who are coming, the different stages of awareness that they're at, and then make sure every page you're giving them something that will help you get your goals. So my about page, at the end of it, for instance, it has a link to look at my services page, and it has a link to download my free cheat sheet. So it's for people who are 2 different levels of awareness. And then 2, I would say, once you've thought through those goals, have a look at other people's websites who ideally aren't in your industry, and try and find some websites that you really like how they're laid out. You really like maybe just the tone of voice, you like the style, not in your industry, so you don't get tempted to copy them, but just to get inspiration. Because it can be really hard, because we're not all web designers and copywriters. And I know when I was writing my website, I spent a long time thinking, should I center align my text or should I left align my text? And and things like that. Generally, you should left align it, by the way, if you to save you the trouble that I went through. But I didn't even know how to lay things out. And another thing is, like most websites are divided into sections, and your section is the height of a screen. So you shouldn't have copy that goes on for, you know, you scroll and you scroll and you scroll and you scroll, and it's all the same background, and there's no line breaks, and it's just massive paragraphs with no bolding, and it's really hard to read. You want it to look pretty, you want it to be readable, you want people who are skimming to be able to quickly find what they're looking for. So think about that. Which isn't to do with copy, but well, basically your words can be great, is my point, but if you don't lay them out right, then people aren't going to read them. So it's definitely a marriage of the 2 things.
Yeah, and if you finally got them to come to your website, the last thing you want to do is have them look at it and go, oh my gosh, there's so much here, and they click off and they leave. You want to make it to where it's presentable. There's maybe some pictures to break it up, or it's short. I love, like, with social media, even, like, I've learned to, like, do shorter sentences, or like break my paragraphs up, or say what might have taken, if I was writing a book, paragraphs per se, but shrinking it down to where it's a shorter snippet of what the paragraph would be. That way people can read it, they can understand it. There's line breaks in it. There's just space. Because I think we're so overwhelmed nowadays with content and information coming at us. And if we want people to read what we've got posted on our website or on our social media, it needs to be an easy read so they can relate it, understand it, grasp it, and continue on to get to your call to action at the bottom. Because you're right, you have to have a call to action, because otherwise they're reading this information, they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and also make it super easy for them. So have things at the top of every page that just make it really easy for them. So have something at the top of your homepage. I have my lead magnet, my sign up form, at the top of my homepage, and then I have a paragraph about, you know, how I can help them. My about page doesn't actually start being just about me. It starts with what I do and who I help and how I help them. So people don't have to read my whole story to get to, well, what does this person do again? Because they might not be coming to your about page from your homepage. You have to think of every page of your website as perhaps the first page that somebody looks at. So if it's the first page that someone looks at on your website, are they going to get the information they need within the first few seconds? And really, you want to make sure that you give them that. And also have your calls to action, have multiple buttons. You know, on my services page, I don't have book a call right at the bottom of the page. I have it near the top and multiple points throughout the page, because sometimes people already know they want to work with me, so they want to book their call quickly. They don't want to scroll down and down and down. So just make it very, very easy for them to find what they're looking for.
No, and that's perfect, because once they're there, they need to, if they're ready to take action, you need to give them multiple opportunities to take action, so that you're getting the sale, you're getting the client, or you're going to have that free call so they can learn more. And that's so important, because if we don't grasp them when they're on our website, because there is other people that do what we do. They might learn a ton from us and go to somebody else's site, and all of a sudden there was a button and they're like, oh, I'm ready. We want to pull them in and grab them immediately while they're with us. Yeah.
So really try to optimize every single page and have things optimized from the beginning with those pages, because people don't have time to dig around to find things out anymore. And they're going to think, if you're not telling me to book a call or to showing me how I can work with you, forget it. I'll go somewhere else.
Someone else is going to tell me exactly how to. So you want to pull them in immediately.
Yeah.
So what are some ways then that you like to work with your clients for, maybe they're struggling with, they're not feeling confident with their words, or maybe they're blocked, or they're just not in the right mindset for what they're writing. How can they overcome to feel confident in their writing if they don't have somebody yet like you who would be writing it for them, if they want to still put that content out? What are some strategies for that?
I think, there are multiple, people have so many mindset blocks, and I think everybody does, I would say a few of the most common ones, I'll run through them and give some tips on how to handle them. So one of them is this fear of not being original enough, and like, or not, or even, I don't sound cool enough. that everyone else out there sounds so much cooler than me, and they're saying things so well, and they're saying what I want to say, and I can't compete, so I give up. That's how a lot of people feel a lot of the time. And to that I would say, so many people are giving this really similar advice. So many people are saying really similar things and charging a lot of money for it, and they all have their own niches, they all have their own tribes of followers, and even though they're saying similar things to each other, it's the way that they're packaging those things, and it's the way they're communicating with the people who follow them that's bringing them those fans. And so it's not so much about having, groundbreakingly original things to communicate to your customers. It's about, or potential customers, it's about putting your own spin on things and injecting your personality into the way that you say it, and approaching it from your particular way that's really going to win you the fans. And it's like, for example, there was something that people kept saying to me in business. It was about the way you could communicate, and it was about strategy versus kind of authenticity. And then someone else reframed that to me, and they said it's about your head and your heart, and you need to have both in the way that you communicate with others. And it was saying it that way in terms of head and heart that really resonated with me, and I was suddenly like, oh, right, yeah, I get what you're saying. Whereas I'd heard it a bunch of other times from a bunch of other people, but hadn't really struck a chord with me. And so you could be that person who frames things or expresses them in a way where people suddenly go, oh, that's what they mean. Yeah. Now I understand. And so don't worry if other people have a similar message. It's what you do with the message. It's your style. It's your way of communicating that is going to connect with people. And we all have different communication preferences. There are some people out there who I see it a lot on Facebook ads, especially this kind of like very macho guys advertising about branding and advertising. And that is a style of communication that does not appeal to me in the slightest. And I never click on those ads. But it clearly appeals to lots of people, because I see lots of mainly men in the comments going, oh yeah, this sounds great. Whereas, and then there are some people who are really sassy and a bit more kind of aggressive. And that's not me either. I tend to prefer kind of more nurturing, open, warm style of communicating. So however you communicate, there are going to be people who appreciate your style of communicating. So that will be my main thing. So don't worry about saying new things, and don't worry about sounding, different to other people, because actually that's a really good thing. The worst is when you sound exactly the same as other people.
Yeah, and when you're sharing your unique self, you're going to draw the people that you're supposed to in. And like you were just describing, like, you're not for everyone. I'm not for everyone.
No.
We're going to attract the people that we're meant to work with, the people that are going to have similar values, similar relationships, and we're going to draw the right people in. And I think just knowing that sometimes feels really good, because I don't want to attract everybody. Like, I think most of us, when we start our business, we're like, we're going to hang up our shingle or put our website up, and everybody's going to start getting attracted in, and we're going to have all these clients, and it's going to be awesome. But it's kind of nice to, take a stand sometimes for who we are.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to take a stand, because it's going to repel the people that are not supposed to be attracted to you. And it's going to pull those in that are the right audience that you're supposed to be working with.
That's so true. Okay. Yeah, that's so true, and so important. And that's really why I encourage people to inject as much of their personality as they can into their copy, because it really gives potential clients a kind of preview of what it might be like to work with you. And you want to have those more qualified leads. You don't want to have people who have no idea what you're all about contacting you to work with you, and then it doesn't work out because maybe you have really different approaches, really different values, really different worldviews, and you're just not compatible. So by showing your personality, you're kind of adding a filter to your system, and you're making your leads more qualified, and yet you're attracting your people, as opposed to people who care about things that aren't important to you, perhaps.
Yeah, and it's so important to not get hung up on that. So I love that you mentioned that. So there's courses out there that you can buy to learn how to be an amazing writer. There's copywriters. How do you choose? Like, if you know that you need help, how do you choose between maybe using a course or hiring somebody like you to come in and help guide those words? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's so important to think about that. And when I've spoken to new business owners, it's something that I know a lot of them really struggle with, because I think especially when you're starting out in business, you want to do everything. You get this kind of, a lot of people become entrepreneurs and sign up for online courses and things. They really like learning. They like being challenged. They like growing. So online courses appeal to an aspect of all of us, I'm sure, like me and of you, where we think, oh, it would be quite nice to learn that. Oh yeah, I'll get better at that, and I can do that. And we think, yeah, I'm really empowering myself, and that's a great long-term strategy. But there's a point at which sometimes we bite off more than we can chew, and it's important to nurture our zones of genius as opposed to spreading ourselves too thinly. So I would say, I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. I think you have to be very, very clear about why you're doing what you're doing and about what you actually need. So for instance, some people think, oh, okay, I'll buy an online course on copywriting because it's going to save me so much money in the long term. And and I'll have this skill that I can use for life, and it'll be the same price as hiring a copywriter, or maybe it'll be cheaper. So they go ahead and they buy it. But then the amount of time that it takes them to actually do the course, and that's assuming they do the course, because, you know, the completion rate on online courses is very, very low. So most people don't ever finish these courses. The amount of time they spend just doing the course, then they have to implement what they learn in the course, and implementation takes practice. Writing takes practice. It's going to take you a few drafts to get whatever piece of copy you want to get done out there. By the time you've spent all that time, what if you could have spent that time working with clients instead? How much money has it actually cost you in terms of hours that you could have spent generating revenue? So I think that's an important thing to consider. You know, if it's going to take you 2 weeks to work your way through this and to draft your website copy, you're probably better, and you want to make money and you want the copy soon, you're probably better hiring a copywriter. And then you still learn when you work with a copywriter, especially if you get them, if they do an email sequence for you, you see what they do and you learn their process, you know, how they learn things about you, what things they take about you, how they reframe those things into copy. You see the way they write. And ideally, working with a copywriter, you walk away and you think, wow, they really captured my voice. This writing sounds like me at my absolute best. So what you walk away with is not just copy that you can put on your website and be done with it. You also walk away with copy that you can use as a benchmark for your own future writing and as an inspiration for yourself, because you've seen how someone else has done it and written in your style and tone. Whereas if it's an online course, you know, it's not as personalized.
Yeah, you're getting more one-on-one attention with it, and you're actually working with somebody.
Yeah.
You're telling them a story or telling them about what you want to have, and they're able to wordsmith it, is what I feel like you do. Like, you wordsmith it to gold. So,
and I think that as well, what can be just super invaluable is that a copywriter doesn't have the hang-ups you have about writing. And I've seen this because sometimes I have friends who are copywriters, and I ask them for advice about things I've written for myself. And I have no problem with my clients about, you know, putting a call to action that asks for the sale, about writing promotional emails. But even me with my own emails, sometimes I'll send them to people and they'll be like, well, why didn't you mention this great thing you've done? Why haven't you mentioned this? Why haven't you included this awesome thing? Or why are you, you know, skirting around this or not really saying it? You know, we all have mindset issues, and working with someone else, they just smash through them. And sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah, and you're so close to it too. Like the example you just gave of, like, with your writing, sometimes on your own personal stuff.
Yeah.
It's always easier to help other people. And sometimes you're just so close to it yourself that you need to have a little bit of space and have somebody else in your industry kind of help through it. It's like, I always joke, like, the hairdresser doesn't always have her hair done. The nail tech doesn't always have their nails done.
Exactly.
But they're really good at their trade and working with their clients. But sometimes they're so busy with everybody else that they need to come back and take care of themselves too, or they're too close to it, like with writing or with different things. Like, I can't coach myself. Like, I know what to say to myself, but do I coach myself through that process? I'd probably be my worst client ever.
Yeah.
Because I'm way too close to it. I'm inside my own head.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it can be really helpful to work with somebody else from that perspective too. And all that said, you know, I don't want to say that copywriting courses can't be helpful, because they really can. And I think if you're at a point where you're not frantically juggling client work and business growth related activities, and you have a little bit more time to do some kind of professional development, I think that copywriting is a really important skill. And I do think it's always good to know more about it and to be better at it. That said, you can get better by writing every day. That's one of the best ways to do it. Actually writing something every single day, and that's why I recommend to people that they do post on social media, that they get used to writing, even if it's just little social media captions, just that kind of regular writing activity and sharing your thoughts and your voice. It can be really beneficial to you.
Yeah, and I love, you just mentioned you're finding your voice. So I think a lot of people struggle with finding what their voice is when it comes to social media or on their website and those different areas. How do you find your voice to make it uniquely yours and make it sound like, if I met you at a coffee shop, you sound exactly the same as you do maybe on your website or on your posts? Because I've met people before where you think that they're going to be one way and you meet them, you're like, oh, you're totally different. Like their writing style is different than actually as they speak. So how do you find that balance to kind of speak as you?
It's weird, isn't it? Because you would think it would be the easiest thing in the world just to write like you speak and like you talk in your normal conversations. But for some reason, it can be really, really hard.
Yeah.
I don't have that issue now, but when I was coming out of academic writing, I was very used to writing to an audience of professors and for these scholarly journals where everything had to be perfectly grammatically correct, and so I had a very specific writing voice for that. And then suddenly I'm busy writing on Instagram, and I was like, whoa, this is a big change. This is a big change. I don't know how to do this. And I was also, and I think this is an issue too. Because I took courses, you and I met because we did B School together, and you can take online courses. Maybe you read blogs, maybe you have people whose emails you subscribe to and you really, really like. You get kind of messed up by their writing because you read it so much, or you hear what they're saying and their style of voice so much, and you start almost writing like them, and you don't mean to, but it's like you've absorbed so much it just stops coming out of you. Yeah. And then you really feel like you've totally lost your voice because you think, is this me or is this Marie Forleo or Amy Porterfield or whatever? So one thing I would advise if you're struggling, I mean, the first thing is just try to write like you talk. So recording yourself can be really helpful. Just recording yourself and then writing down what you've said. That's a good way to do it. One thing I do actually, I don't seem to think out loud that well when it comes to social media posts, but I write everything in the notes app on my phone. That's where I draft a lot of my emails and social media posts, and it's just a bit more freeing than typing it out on a computer, because when I sit down at my desk, that's me in work mode, whereas when I'm on my phone, that's me in texting my friends, communicating with my family in an informal way mode. So just drafting social media posts and emails on my phone for me is something very helpful and gets me in more of a natural mindset. So that could be helpful to you. And then if you're feeling super lost, what I would say, and especially if you feel like you've lost your voice and it's been swallowed up and you're just parroting everybody else out there, stop paying attention to people you like. You need to find some people you don't like, basically, and that'll make you feel better too. Yeah. So instead of comparing yourself to these people who you idolize, you want to find people who you never want to write like them, or you never want to communicate in that way. And believe me, they're out there. You just need to look at your Facebook ads, go on Instagram, Google other people in your industry and sign up for their mailing list and see what you like and what you don't like. And there will be plenty of things that you will suddenly go, oh, I don't like the way that they send 2 emails a day for a week after I subscribe to their mailing list, and I don't like the way that they're pitching me straight away, and I don't like the way that their social media posts are all about booking a call with them, and you just start to you can start to define yourself in opposition to other people, and that's just a bit easier because you're not tempted to imitate them. Instead, you can start thinking, okay, so I don't want to pitch people in every single email post, so what could I do instead? And then your brain will start working. It will start working. You might feel like it's working very slowly, but it will start thinking of solutions to the problem. You just say, okay, I don't like that, so what can I do differently? And you'll start to gradually get ideas. So that's another helpful way of helpful.
That's great. And I think it's so important too, you mentioned like listening to other people, because sometimes you like somebody, so you follow them, and you can start to take on like their language and their tone of voice, or you try to like, well, if I do like their live stream and I act like this, and if I act super chipper, or if I do this, and maybe that's not your natural state, so it's completely fake. But I personally like to listen to quite a few people now. Like for a while, I was listening to like certain podcasts, or I was reading certain books, or following certain people, and I was finding that I was kind of losing myself. I'm like, oh, maybe I should do what they're doing, or that works for them, so I need to do that too. And it wasn't real. It didn't feel good. It didn't necessarily even go over well with my audience, because it wasn't me being me. It was me being what I saw other people doing. So I can see how it's so easy to lose your voice, especially in the online space, and why it's important to have different information, and don't let yourself just be fed the same information over and over again. Like, have it from different outlets so that you can really find who you are and see which pieces of it make sense and resonates for you, so you can share it as your message.
Exactly. And I think the more you sign up for too, I mean, you can create separate folders in your email inbox or whatever for all these different people. So your inbox doesn't suddenly have 25 new emails a day from all of them. But it can be helpful to sign up for lots of different people, because it really gives you perspective. Because if you're just following a couple of people, as you say, you start thinking that their way of doing it is your only option. And actually, everyone's doing everything. There's copywriters I know who really use video a lot, and then there's copywriters I know who don't use video at all, who concentrate on blogging for lead generation. And then there's other ones who are all over Facebook. There's other ones who are all over Instagram. Anything can work if you put your mind to it. You just have to choose the medium that's right for you and that suits your communication style.
Yeah, it has to feel good for you and fit you.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy doing it, and you're not going to do it at all.
Exactly.
So then all of a sudden you're not marketing yourself at all, because what other people are doing doesn't feel good to you. And then you're just sitting there going, well, maybe I should write something, or maybe I'll hit live today on Facebook, and then you chicken yourself out and you're doing none of it.
Exactly.
So you call yourself a conversion copywriter versus just a copywriter, or different things. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you come to call yourself a conversion copywriter, and what does that mean?
Sure. So there's actually, there's a copywriter called Joanna Weave, and she is like the original conversion copywriter. And she is very, very well known and celebrated for writing copy that, creates conversions, that gets people to sign up for things, that converts people into, browsers into buyers, those kind of things. But the real difference, so obviously there's an emphasis on conversion as opposed to just communication. So there's a specific goal that you want to achieve. But the real difference is that there's a lot more research, and that it's all about finding your ideal client's language and using that and those kind of words in your copy. So ideally, I've talked a lot about finding your voice. You also want to make sure that your voice links up with your client's voice and what your client's thinking, that you're you're saying things that they're feeling so that you resonate with them. And this is where it's actually really nice, because there's so many different ways that you can find out what people are actually saying and feeling. You can look on review sites. You can look at your competitors' testimonials. You can look at what people say after they've worked with other people like you. What were they struggling with before they started working? What were they looking for? What was the experience of transformation? If you work in a certain industry, you could look at books relating to that industry on Amazon, and you look at the reviews. What are people saying about where they were when they bought the book? What were they hoping for? So if you work in marketing, look up marketing books and see what people are saying in the reviews. What was the transformation they got? And note down the copy, the different, snippets of the language that people are using, and anything that strikes you. And then the idea is you weave that into the copy that you create to market whatever product or service you're promoting. And that kind of language, that natural language that people have written when they're talking about what they really wanted or what they were really struggling with, that's the kind of language that drives conversions.
And I love that, because with my clients, I focus a lot on who your ideal client is, and we do a ton of market research to really get to know what they're thinking, what they're feeling, where they're shopping, how they respond, what it is that they really want to see happen, like what changes are they looking for. Like knowing all those bits and pieces makes it so much easier, because you're speaking your client's language at the same time as you're sharing your voice. And so like you said, they're kind of marrying together, and it's you can't just be all you have to be able to speak to your audience so that they can relate and connect. So whether it's on your website or it's on social media, I can't just think about Darlene. I have to think about me and my clients and what I want. It's not just me talking. Like I have to have a purpose for what I'm saying that's going to resonate and draw and attract those clients in. So they want to lean in and they want to learn more. They're not turned off or
exactly
pulling away.
And like one thing, for example, that a lot of your clients want to know, that you can help them, maybe if you're a coach or a copywriter like me, that you can help them make more money. That's really important to them. But then a lot of business owners, they have a lot of hesitation around. You don't have to promise that. Nobody can promise that they'll make you more money. But that's the idea. That's why you would work with that person. So you should probably be saying that in your copy. You shouldn't just be saying, oh, we'll have a lovely time getting to know each other and
we'll be best friends.
No, people actually want results. So you need to know what results they're saying that they're looking for. So
important. Yeah, because you want to be their friend and you want to be there to build that relationship. And all of my clients are friends, but I'm also there as somebody who's helping them take it to the next level and making sure that they're not playing it safe and that they're being bold and courageous and doing things that maybe feel scary and stepping out. And it's got to be an investment. People aren't going to hire a copywriter or even myself as a coach just for fun, just to hang out with us. Like look at it as an investment. Like I'm going to put money into myself and I'm going to work with, you to work on my copywriting or work with me for their coaching and but it's an investment into themselves, because they're going to learn so much about themselves. They're going to be able to take what they learn and implement it in 10x it, get more value back from it. Anytime that I work with, even with my coaches and with anything I'm doing, like I'm looking at it as an investment. So I can say, I'm putting money into this because I'm going to get this out of it. Or maybe and especially working with someone like you with wordsmithing and changing those words, just working with you and seeing how you change things up and how you rearrange copy. They're going to learn so much. They're going to be able to start implementing those little steps. And add it to, because they're still going to write their own blog posts. They're still going to do a lot of stuff on their own too, but they've watched how you switch things around or how you position it. And they're going to grow and learn from there too.
Exactly. Yeah.
So as we start to kind of wrap things up for today, if somebody's struggling with finding their voice or getting words on paper that really resonates with their audience, what is kind of like your top tip to kind of leave for today that we can implement right into our business right away to make some of those subtle changes?
Yeah, there's so many tips there. I would say a really simple one is just try, and I've talked about this a lot, just try to keep everything in perspective and lose the fear that you might have around communicating. Just put your voice out there, whether it's on social media by posting regularly. Just start writing, just start communicating, just start sharing in your voice, because that's the way you're going to get better. The more you write, the more you communicate, the more you speak to people in your voice, you're going to find out what your voice is. So that's a really simple one. Just don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel or do anything super drastic, but just do something, just do something, and you'll get better. You'll get better. That's the point. Everyone gets better the more they write. So you will too. It might take some time, but you will too.
And even those experts that we're following, they had a starting point. Sometimes we're comparing where we are to somebody who's been doing it for 10 years or has had a back training that goes in alignment with what they're doing currently. So you can't always think, oh, well, I can't do what they're doing. My videos aren't going to be as well as theirs, or my writing's not as good. It's just baby steps. And if you look back at their beginning work, you're going to see that they learned and they grew through that process just as much as you're going to.
And there's just no point, if you've been doing this for a matter of months or just a couple of years, comparing yourself to somebody who's been doing this for 10 years and has a staff of 10 people, it's just not worth it.
Don't do that. Definitely do not do that. You need to put yourself in a positive framework to where you're focused on where you are right now and what you can teach them. And you don't have to be a million steps ahead of your clients. No. You just have to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of them, because you've already learned those baby steps that got you to there. So now you can teach that to somebody else or share that knowledge or
exactly. And I would say if you can get to a point where you create one piece of content that you're really proud of, and it doesn't even have to be written content, it could be a video. But if somebody is trying to hire someone like you, have something you can show them. You might not have a website yet, but maybe if you have this, you can say, hey, I do this. You see them post that they need someone on Facebook to help them with something. You send them a message, hey, I do this. If you want to get more of a sense of who I am, what I do, my approach, check out this video where I talk about this, or my blog post on this, or this PDF I created on this. Have something that really showcases who you are. I would say that's the best next step, and that can get you another step closer to getting clients, because really it's important to generate revenue. And you can have this whole list of, I need an email list, and I need a newsletter, and I need to be on 4 social media channels, and I need a great website. But just start with earning some money. Yes,
because we started our business because we love what we do, but also so that we can provide a livelihood and support ourselves. And sometimes you can't have a hobby. Like, no. It has to be revenue producing, because I could coach all day, but I also have to make money at the same time. So it's finding that balance of providing and doing what you love.
Exactly.
So I know you have a free gift for everybody that's been part of the summit. Can you tell us a little bit about your free gift?
Yeah, so my free gift is my cheat sheet on the 4 P's of personality-packed copy. So we've talked a lot about personality and authenticity and letting your voice, letting your authentic voice shine through in the way that you write. This is a cheat sheet that's going to help you use your personality more, but in a way that converts readers into subscribers or buyers, and that helps you grow your business in a profitable way. So it will It's got lots of examples to help you just write better headlines, write better calls to action, write better website and email copy. And it's got a really handy checklist that you can use to run your copy through before you put it out there into the world. So that's my freebie.
Awesome. I know it's going to be amazing. So definitely everybody download her free gift, because just the way that you write and the way that you share, you can tell there's going to be so many impact punches in there that are going to be so great for us to put into our copy and help us to step up our copy as well. So everybody wants to follow you. They want to connect with you and stay connected because you're amazing. So how do they find you? Where do you hang out most on social media? And share your website with us as well.
Yeah, so I will send you all the links. I'm most active on Instagram and Pinterest, but I am gradually growing my Facebook presence as well. So if you'd like to connect with me on there, please do. I'd be happy to connect more. But yeah, I have prioritized Instagram and Pinterest up until now. As we were talking, prioritization.
Yes, because you can't put yourself in every single market at all times. Like you can be a little bit in everywhere, but definitely focus where your audience is at as well, so that you're talking to your people every day when you're sharing.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Suzy, for being on the summit with us. I know everybody got a lot of great nuggets they're going to be able to implement and move into their business and start creating amazing content. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.